Mr. Speaker, last week the Liberals struggled to justify the Prime Minister's massive celebrity-sized entourage that accompanied him to Washington. Now, we all know that our relationship with the U.S. is important and that high-level visits are beneficial. And we know that there are important issues to discuss, like perhaps the energy sector. But what we can't figure out is what expertise the Prime Minister's in-laws have and why he couldn't find room for the Natural Resources Minister.
Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague knows full well that the Prime Minister's in-laws and Mrs. Trudeau herself were guests of the President of the United States at a state dinner. He should also know, Mr. Speaker, that it's the first time since 1997 that Canada has been awarded the honour of a state dinner at the White House. These members of the Prime Minister's family were part of the official delegation, and I would remind you, Mr. Speaker, that the President himself drew attention to Margaret Trudeau's presence there and her tireless work on behalf of those with mental illness.
The Prime Minister didn't just squeeze out cabinet ministers for his in-laws, he did it as well for Liberal Party bagmen, and Canadians are disgusted that Liberal fundraisers went along for the ride. The Prime Minister's political friends were granted unprecedented access to senior U.S. officials. The Prime Minister used a state visit to help his buddies connect with Washington insiders for their own personal gain. In exchange for raising money for the Liberals, they were invited to come along to make contacts to further their own personal interests. This was clearly a reward for their political support. How can the Liberals justify this unethical behavior?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Again, Mr. Speaker, my friend knows very well that the two individuals to whom he's referring were invited to attend the event by the White House. He should also know, Mr. Speaker, that the taxpayers in no way contributed to the expenses of these individuals. All of their expenses at all times were incurred by them personally, and the taxpayers in no way, directly or indirectly, contributed to this part of the visit.